Chapter 58. 2 days after Grays left.
Damn, it's cold. Well, duh. We're high up in the mountains. It's snowing. Of course it's gonna be cold.
I chuckled to myself as I listened to Brake and Dawn argue. I looked out the window of the train as we passed a beautiful white landscape, shivering lightly when a gust of wind came through the crack in the window. I was wearing a black and red scarf made by Rarity, a beanie-type hat on the top of my head, and a black face cover that covered my mouth and nose. Lastly, I was wearing the clothes that Grays had left me before he had left, but with the addition of my goggles and black boots. Even through all of that, though, I was still freezing.
You okay there, Lance?
Twilight asked me as she watched me shiver. I smiled, but it was hidden by my face covers, so I forced out a small chuckle.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just freezing to death over here.
She laughed and scooted closer to me.
Want to share my blanket?
I scooched a bit closer to her.
I would love to share a blanket.
I then nuzzled her cheek. She giggled and used her magic to cover both of us with the blanket. She then wrapped her hooves around me and hugged me tightly. I hissed in pain.
Careful, Twi. I'm still bruised and sore from that fight. I still can't believe it was a draw.
She smiled awkwardly and loosened her embrace.
Oops, sorry.
I chuckled and pulled her close, ignoring the horribly searing pain.
It's okay. I still love you.
She smiled and laid her head on my shoulder.
You're so in there. I never know how your mind works, Brake.
I rolled my eyes and enjoyed the rest of the ride. 55 minutes later!
This place is awesome!
Me and David said at the same time as we stood in the lobby of the ski resort. The fillies just chuckled at our actions and cantered to the check-in desk, leaving us stallions behind. Spike whistled. When I win big. Spike bumped his hand against Greg's hoof.
Thanks for letting us come, dude.
No problem, you bronies are my friends too. I smiled and looked at every pony who had come with us on this little trip. It was me, all the bronies, the main six, Cody, Ditzy, Dela, Drax, Vinyl Scratch, Luna, and of course, Spike. Yeah, altogether, we're a large group, 21 strong.
21? This group is getting big. I know, right? I never noticed that there was this many of us.
Zora rubbed his hoofs together in excitement. I can't wait to start skiing.
Well, while you're skiing, I'll be off snowboarding.
Zora rolled his eyes. Skiing is so much better. Peter went on the offensive at this.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I laughed and turned away as the two went at it. Twilight cantered up to me reading a small piece of paper.
Lance, you should read this. It's pretty important.
I shrugged and took it from her magical grasp. I skimmed over it and nodded.
Well, I didn't know that.
The paper said that all Pegasi must wear heavy wing covers. The temperatures up here are too much for the fragile bone and feathers, so flying around is out of the question while we're this high up.
Damn, I wanted to cause an avalanche with a shadow blast. You evil, awesome dude. That would totally been kinda cool.
Suddenly, I felt something go over each of my wings. I looked back and chuckled. Twilight was placing wing covers over each of my wings and had her tongue stuck out while she worked. So damn cute. Once she had my wings tucked away, she smiled proudly.
Got it!
I giggled. Wait, I giggled? Shit!
You're such a girl. Oh my god, Lance, that was the funniest sound I've ever heard. Screw both of you.
Twilight looked at me and began to laugh, followed by everyone else. This is freaking embarrassing. I held up my hooves in defeat.
Okay, we've all had our laughs.
Rarity stopped laughing slowly and smiled.
I agree with Lance. It was funny, but we need to get back to the business at Hoof.
Twilight held back her laughs and nodded.
Yes, we should. We have the rooms, but now we have to divide up to each room. Lance and I will take one.
Rarity nodded in agreement.
Peter and I will also take one for ourselves.
Aaron shrugged.
I guess Vinyl and I can take one for ourselves too.
I looked at every pony else.
Okay, Rainbow Dash and David will go together. Cody and Derpy will also get a room to themselves. Of course, Greg and Pinky's room will be far away from the rest. And the last couple on the list is Frederick and Luna. They get the biggest room.
All the couples smiled at each other, happy to have a room to themselves. Seth suddenly became confused.
What about us?
I smirked.
I'm going to be evil here. Seth and Zara will share a room.
After they groaned, I looked over to Applejack and Fluttershy.
Sorry, you two, but you'll have to share a room also.
Applejack shrugged.
It's fine with us. We've done it before.
I nodded and looked over to the remaining ponies.
Spike, you can stay in our room. Drax, I guess you can take the room left over. Deli, you may stay with me and Twilight also.
Drax slowly cantered towards me and took a nervous smile over his face.
Lance, can you put me and Dolly in the same room? Why?
He blushed, which was clearly visible since his coat was black.
No reason.
I then smirked, knowing why he wanted a room with her.
Let me guess. You like her?
He blushed deeply.
No.
I chuckled and looked over at the lot.
On second thought, could you and Drax share a room?
She thought for a second. I guess. I smiled.
Perfect. Who wants to hit the slopes?
Almost every pony said yes. A few of us went back to check out the rooms first, though. Peter cantered over and threw a snowboard at me. I jumped up and caught it in my teeth. David smiled. Let's do this thing! 32 minutes later! I looked down the steep slope, feeling butterflies in my stomach.
Don't you pussy out, Lance. I want to do this.
I gulped and stood on my hind legs, the board strapped onto my boots. I'll never know how I'm able to stay balanced on my hind legs and on a board. But I did it somehow. I prepared myself for the ride downward. Sweat was pouring down my face, freezing before it was even halfway down my cheek. Yeah, it's that damn cold. Once every pony was ready, Peter smiled.
Let's get this thing started.
He then jumped forward and began to go down the hill on his board. Every pony else followed, except for me. I was shaking from the cold and from fear.
I got this. Break! No!
I felt him take over and push me forward, causing me to go straight down the mountain.
Shit!
I screamed as I picked up speed, and it became hard to keep balanced. I leaned around until I regained full control of my movements and began to enjoy the thrill of flying down the slopes. Up ahead, I saw Aaron lose control and began to roll down the hill.
Funny shit right there.
I flew past Aaron laughing.
Better luck next time.
As I glided across the snow, a stallion canted out into my path.
Fucking move! Lance, warn him. Move!
I yelled out too late. I slammed into him, sending both of us down the mountain. We finally came to a stop and I stood up, pulling my face cover back up and adjusting my goggles. The other stallion stood and rubbed his head. I looked him over. He was a gray Pegasus with a black and ice blue mane and tail, and his eyes were a kind of brown. He had a gentle look to him. He looked at me and blinked. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to knock you off your board. I chuckled and waved him off.
It's okay.
I held out a hoof.
The name's Lance. Lance! You just told him your real name! Oh shit, I wasn't thinking.
The stallion smiled and reached out and took my hoof. Nice to meet you, Lance. My name is Shadow Breeze. Cool name.
So, what you doing out here?
He smiled. I was just keeping track of all the animals and, shit like that. He then instantly covered his mouth.
He just said shit. Does that mean he's a brony?
I looked at him and cocked my head.
Human?
He looked a bit shocked. Maybe? I smiled and laughed a little.
Well, I'll be damned. I found another brony.
He looked confused at what I was saying. I just smiled, even if it was covered by the face mask.
Don't worry, I'm a brony also. You can act like one around me and my friends.
He relaxed. I didn't know there was others here. I shrugged.
There's way more than you think.
He looked taken aback by the fact. Really? I nodded and chuckled.
So, tell me, why didn't you try to get to Ponyville? I've been curious about this. I haven't seen any bronies make their way there.
He held a hoof to his chin. Well, I just appeared here and kinda liked it here. I work here now. I help out with normal things and watch over the little fillies and colts. I also keep track of the animals in this area. I just love it here. And besides, I couldn't find Ponyville. I held back a laugh.
Well, that answers my question. You should come to the lobby tonight. Me and my friends are gonna sit around the fire.
He smiled. I'd love that. Thanks. I shifted onto my board and waved.
See you then.
I then began heading down the slope, ready to get back to the resort and my warm, toasty room. Wow, that might be like the shortest chapter.
End of chapter 58. Tune in next time for chapter 700.
Or we'll kill you. Quickly.
Goodbye.
Goodbye!
Pausing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Ding dong.
0.
I'm
Well, I'll be damned. I found another brony. I just
did that
needed
come
to say
from?
that. That is needed because it's like, well, I'll be
Fine,
damned. I found another
should I
brony.
just keep that?
No, you're gonna keep that as a
Okay,
blooper.
fine.